Hi, my name is Michael Spielt. Welcome to Visual Studio Debugging Tutorial for C# developers, Part 1. Today we're going to learn how to start debugging in Visual Studio. We're going to start from the basic features and move on to more advanced features as we go on. Debugging is the process of solving bugs. It's a huge part of software development in modern days. We spend a lot of time debugging, and by mastering that process and the tools at our disposal, we're going to be more productive, we're going to solve our problems faster, and we're going to spend more time writing code, writing new features, and developing our product. Here's what we're going to learn today. We will see how to start debugging with Visual Studio, how to set breakpoints, how to navigate through code, how to step over lines of code, step into methods, step out of methods, investigate variables, use the DataTip and Quick Watch of Visual Studio to analyze variables, see all the features that DataTip and Quick Watch include, and see breakpoint advanced features. I have a small program here in C#. To start debugging, I can run the program from Visual Studio with start here, or F5, or debug start debugging. I will usually want to place a breakpoint beforehand. I can do that with clicking here on the margin, or F9. Now if I click start, the program will start executing and stopping in my breakpoint. The program is now in break mode. Before it was in run mode when it was executing, and now it's in break mode where the debugging occurs. So here I can actually investigate the program to find bugs and analyze the situation. For example, I can hover over variables like this and see their values. We're going to get back to that, but first I want to show you how to navigate through the code while in break mode. You can place breakpoints like this, and if I hit continue, keep executing until the next breakpoint is hit. For example, now the next statement to execute is here. All the lines from the last breakpoint to this breakpoint were executed. This includes this line and this line. The yellow highlight represents the next statement to execute. It did not execute yet, but it's going to be in the next statement to execute. I can also press F10, which is going to stop in break mode in the next line. So F10, like this. This line was executed, and this line, this statement, is the next one to execute. F10 is also available in here with this icon, so I can keep hitting it and the program will keep executing one line at a time. Let's start over the program. If I hit continue, now it's and start over. Whenever I'm on a method, like here, calculate discount is the method, I can click F11, which is step into, or this icon here is this one, so F11, and it will go to the first line of code in this method. So if I hit F11, it goes to the first line of code. Now I can hit F10 like before, navigating through code, and if I want, I can hit Shift F11 or use this icon here, step out, which will finish executing this the current method, and go back to the location where it was called from. Now here it's a bit confusing because the yellow highlight before it represented the next statement to execute, but here calculate discount was already executed, but the line, the entire statement, wasn't yet executed. So if I hover over new price, I can see it's 0, but if I click F10, now it's 50 because the line was already executed. We can use the run to execution feature, which is available whenever I hover over any line. The little green arrow here appears, and if I click it, the debugger will go to that line, but it will execute all the lines in between, which in our case was this one and this one. It's the same as if I placed a breakpoint here and hit continue, and the program would execute and stop on my breakpoint. Another way is to run to a cursor location, which I can take this yellow cursor and drag it whenever I want, here, or even inside the loop, although it's not recommended because it's a different scope. This tells the debugger this is the next statement to execute, but it doesn't continue execution and execute all the lines in between. It just moves the debugging the program location to whatever I tell it. Let's move it back. This is very useful if you want to skip some sort of functionality, or if you want to repeat some sort of functionality because it has a problematic scenario which causes a bug, and you might want to reproduce it a couple of times to find the problem. Let's talk about investigating variables. So going back to calculate discount here, I can click F11, go step into the method. Now I can investigate variables by hovering over them. Like here I see initial price is 50 at this point in time. Discount percentage is 10 at this point in time. Let's click F10 a couple of times. And discount is 0, which is a problem because the initial price is 50 and the percentage is 10, so the discount is supposed to be 5. I actually have a bug here. The problem here that when 50 was divided by 100, it's 0.5, and since the result is an integer, it was rounded down to 0, and then it's multiplied by discount percentage and returns 0. There are a couple of ways I can fix this. I can change it to double, like this, something like this, but there's an even easier way. I can just change the order of execution to first multiply and then divide. Mathematically it doesn't matter, but here it will not cause the bug. So let's run the program again. I placed a breakpoint with F9 here. I can stop debugging, run again, and continue to the next breakpoint. Let's see. Here, discount is 0, but it makes sense because the next statement to execute is here. I did not yet reach this part, did not execute yet. But if I click F10 a couple of times, now discount is 5 as expected. Final price, yeah, it's 0 for the same reason, and if I hit F10, it's 45 as expected. So bug solved. Let's talk about investigating variables. If I hover over a variable, this pop-up appears. This is called the DataTip, and it has several features. For one thing, I can edit a variable. For example, if I double click and I press any number here, like 22, now initial price is 22. I can also press Ctrl like this. Now you see when I press Ctrl, this becomes transparent. This is nice. I can also pin it with this one, this icon. It can be useful if I'm in some kind of loop and the initial price in our case keeps changing with each iteration. So this is a useful feature. Also, if I right click here, a little context menu appears. We can copy expression. The expression in our case is initial price. We can copy value. This means copy to clipboard. Our value is 22 now. We can edit value, which was the same as double clicking it. We can add the expression initial price to watch, or to parallel watch. Watch and parallel watch are tool windows which allow us to observe variables, and we're going to talk about them in the next part of the series. Hexadecimal display just shows everything hexadecimal. Let's place it back. And so this is on primitives like int. If we go to an object, let's go back with step out shift 11, F10, F10, F10. Alex is a reference type, an object here. If I right click, we see make object ID appears, and now when I click it, the little $1 sign appeared here. This allows me to evaluate this instance of a person in any context and in any scope. For example, if I go to the immediate window, which with Control Alt I, which I wasn't going to talk about, but never mind, and press $1, it evaluates Alex. Okay, so besides the little pop of the DataTip, there's also the quick watch, which is very similar. If I right click here, I can press quick watch or shift F9, and now this window appears. It's very similar to the DataTip with some differences. For one, you can change the expression that's been evaluated. For example, I can enter new price, and yeah, 45, or okay, I can enter any custom expression really, like 10 plus 10, 20. I can add this to watch, which 10 plus 10 isn't ever going to change, so there's no point to it. There's also history. It's also not going away, so it's useful when you're evaluating something like Alex and you want to keep going in the fields. Let's talk some more about breakpoints. Breakpoints can be added by clicking here on the margin or by clicking F9. That's the shortcut, like this. Also, there are a couple of advanced features to breakpoint which I want to tell you. If I right click here, I can delete breakpoints, disable breakpoints, use condition or actions. Actions allows me to log a message to the output window whenever this breakpoint is hit. I don't have to necessarily stop execution on this breakpoint. I can print something and continue execution. For example, I can write I equals curly braces I. Now curly braces I, this will insert the actual value of I at this point in time and continue execution. Now let's place a breakpoint here and hit continue. This breakpoint was never execution never stopped on this breakpoint, but if we go to output window, which is available in debug windows, here it is, output, we can see that all the values of I were printed. Let's run to a cursor location back here for another demonstration and clear this. Now the breakpoint has another feature, which is conditions. Conditions allows us to set a condition on when this breakpoint is going to stop. For example, I want to stop only on even numbers, so I can write I modulo 2 equals 0, which means it will stop only on equal numbers. Now, alright, let's close it. And also I'm going to log a message to the output window, the same message, and continue execution. Let's run again. And we can see in the output window that only the even numbers were printed. This is it for now. Thanks for watching. To see this material with more in-depth summary, you can go to the blog post that you see on the screen. Stay tuned for the second part. We will go to more advanced features of Visual Studio. These include the tool windows, which are an essential part of mastering debugging. The basic tool windows are the immediate window, the watch window, locals window, autos, call stack window, and threads window. We'll go over all of them in the next video. So cheers, happy coding.